Chaos broke out on Highway 285 when a multi-car crash brought everything to a grinding halt. But when this cat showed up at the scene, what happened next stunned even the most experienced first responders. That afternoon, sunlight filtered through the trees along Interstate 285 in Colorado. Then, out of nowhere, the usual hum of traffic was shattered by screeching tires and the violent crunch of metal. It was loud enough to startle the animals hiding nearby, including one orange tabby cat nestled deep in the roadside brush. Its ears twitched at the sudden noise, turning toward the chaos. The pileup was bad. Several vehicles were mangled together, smoke rising from under crumpled hoods. The smell of burnt rubber filled the air as drivers stepped out, some clearly disoriented, others frozen in place. And just when it couldn't get any louder, sirens began to wail in the distance. Most animals would have bolted from the sound, but not this cat. Instead of running, this orange tabby crept out from the underbrush. Then, without hesitation, it stepped onto the hot asphalt and began weaving through the gridlocked cars, heading straight for the crash. By the time South Metro Fire Rescue arrived, their red trucks cutting through the haze, the cat had disappeared into the thick of it. But firefighter Andrew Becker caught a glimpse. He had just jumped out of his truck when a streak of orange darted across his vision. For a second, he froze. A cat? Running toward the wreck? He blinked and shook it off. There was work to do. While firefighters and paramedics fanned out, Becker barked instructions. "Check under the vehicles," his voice raw from the smoke. He moved carefully through the wreckage, watching every step. Some of the cars were crushed beyond recognition. Sirens wailed behind him, engines idled, people shouted. But he stayed focused. Then he saw it again. That same flash of orange, now sitting calmly on top of a wrecked car. The tabby's tail flicked as it stared into a narrow opening in the crushed metal. That alone wouldn't have meant much, except for the way it was focused. Becker paused. His instincts kicked in. He crept closer, staying low, eyes on the cat. It didn't move. Its ears were forward, its body alert. And then it let out a sharp meow. Becker crouched and peered into the narrow gap below the cat's gaze. His stomach dropped. A young woman was wedged between the seat and a deflated airbag. She wasn't moving. No one had seen her until now. "We got another one here," he yelled, urgency in his voice. "Unconscious female, mid-20s." The cat, spooked by the sudden shout, jumped down and disappeared again. But Becker didn't even look. He was already on the radio, calling for paramedics. Within seconds, a team rushed over. They worked fast, gently pulling the woman from the twisted wreck. Becker stood back, giving them space, but inside, he couldn't stop thinking about it. That cat hadn't just wandered through the scene. It had led him straight to her. If it hadn't been for this cat's strange behavior, that woman might have been missed for crucial minutes, or even longer. As paramedics worked to stabilize her and get her ready for transport, Becker instinctively glanced around, scanning the wreckage for the orange tabby. But it was gone again. Still, he made a mental note to keep an eye out. After years in the field, he knew help didn't always come from where you expected. And today, it had come from a stray cat. The rescue continued with urgency and focus. Paramedics Sarah Chen and Mike Donovan worked carefully over the woman, now their newest patient. "Careful with her neck, Mike," Sarah said, her voice calm but firm. "We don't know if there's spinal damage." Mike nodded and adjusted his grip, his gloved hands moving with quiet precision. While they worked, the orange tabby showed up again. It darted through the chaos with ease, slipping between responders and debris like it belonged there. A few team members noticed it, but there was no time to worry about a cat in the middle of everything. After what felt like hours, but was really just minutes, they managed to free the woman from the wreckage. She was conscious now, but not fully aware. Her eyes darted around wildly, trying to take in everything. Her breathing was fast and shallow, classic signs of shock. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Sarah leaned in close. "You're safe now. We've got you." But the woman couldn't seem to focus. Her hands trembled, her eyes wide and unfocused, panicked by the chaos still unfolding around her. Mike caught Sarah's eye. They both knew how dangerous this level of stress could be. Then, out of nowhere, the cat jumped onto the gurney. It landed right next to the woman before anyone could react, and instead of causing more panic, something incredible happened. The woman's eyes locked on the cat. Her hand, shaking at first, slowly reached out and brushed its fur. She stroked it once, then again. That simple motion, steady and repetitive, seemed to calm her like nothing else had. Her breathing slowed, her hands steadied, her body, once tense and rigid, started to relax. Mike blinked in disbelief. "Well, that's not something you see every day," he muttered. "Looks like we've got ourselves a furry little therapist." Sarah gave a small smile, but didn't waste the moment. She leaned in, asking gentle questions. Name, pain, if she remembered what happened. The woman answered, her voice soft but clear. She kept one hand on the cat the whole time. "Her name's Lisa," Sarah told Mike after checking vitals. "Pulse is improving, blood pressure's coming down. Whatever that cat's doing, it's working." Even as they got the gurney ready to move, the cat stayed put, curled right beside Lisa. It purred, a soft, steady sound that somehow quieted the noise around them. "Should we bring the cat?" Mike asked, glancing from the cat to the ambulance. Sarah hesitated, just for a second. But Lisa's hand was still on the tabby's back, and her eyes were steady now. "Yeah," Sarah said. "If it's helping, it comes with us. Let the hospital figure it out later." As they gently rolled Lisa and her unexpected companion into the back of the ambulance, Sarah couldn't help but take it in. In all her years on the job, she'd seen some wild things, but never anything like this. The doors closed behind them, the ambulance pulled away, and Sarah took one last look at her patient. Lisa's eyes were closed now, her breathing calm. One hand rested softly on orange fur. And in the middle of all that wreckage, Sarah found a small, quiet moment of peace. The orange tabby stayed curled up next to Lisa, silent but steady, as the ambulance sped toward the hospital. Sarah glanced over more than once, reminded just how strange and beautiful this job could be. In a world filled with noise and urgency, comfort had come in the quiet form of a cat. It was the kind of moment that stuck with you. Back at the crash site, the sun was dipping low. What had been pure chaos just hours earlier had settled into order. Most of the injured were already on their way to nearby hospitals. The air still carried the sharp smell of burnt rubber and fuel, but the sirens had faded, replaced by the soft voices of exhausted responders packing up. Near the command post, firefighter Andrew Becker stood with his hands on his hips, his gear smudged with soot. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving only a heavy tiredness in its place. He found himself thinking back over everything, the mayhem, the rescues, and the cat. As if on cue, the orange tabby reappeared. It wound its way through the scattered boots and gear, rubbing up against legs and letting out a low, contented purr. "Well, would you look at that," said Sarah Chen, who had just returned from the hospital run. She crouched down, and the cat gently bumped its head into her hand. "It's like he's checking on everybody." Becker smiled just a little. The cat had a way of lifting the mood. All around them, weary faces softened. A few chuckles broke through the quiet. Some of the crew even bent down to offer a quick pet as the cat moved from person to person. Then, just as the final ambulance prepared to pull away, something changed. The cat froze mid-step, eyes locked on something in the road. Its ears stood up, tail twitching. Becker, watching curiously, followed its gaze, and saw it too. The ambulance's path was scattered with broken glass. Shards from a windshield glinted in the fading light, some large enough to cause serious damage. No one had spotted them. Before anyone could shout a warning, the cat bolted forward. It darted toward the danger, batting the larger pieces off to the side of the road with quick, careful swipes. Somehow it avoided the jagged edges, moving like it knew exactly what it was doing. "Hey, look at that!" Sarah called out. Everyone turned. In stunned silence, they watched the tabby clearing a path. Becker blinked, then jumped into action. "Let's give our little friend a hand," he said, grabbing a pair of gloves. The rest of the crew followed. Together, guided by the cat's lead, they cleared the glass, one piece at a time, until the road was safe. The cat sat just off to the side, watching quietly, tail wrapped around its paws like it was supervising. "In all my years, I've never seen anything like that," he said. "That cat just saved us from a blowout." Becker knelt beside the tabby, gently rubbing behind its ears. "You really are something else," he said, his voice low. The cat leaned in, purring louder. Sarah stepped up with a first aid kit in hand. "We should check its paws, just in case," she said, always the medic. Becker carefully scooped the cat into his arms. Sarah looked over each paw, turning them gently. "No cuts, not even a scratch," she said, amazed. "He got through it without a mark." As the final ambulance pulled away, lights glowing faintly against the night sky, a quiet awe settled over the team. This little cat had done more today than anyone could explain. "You know," Becker said, still holding the cat, "I think he's earned a place at the firehouse. What do you all say? Make him our official mascot?" A wave of nods and soft laughs rippled through the group. Then Chief Martinez stepped forward. He'd been watching quietly the whole time. "I think that's a fine idea, Becker," he said. "But if we're keeping him, he needs a name, something worthy of a hero." Becker looked down at the orange tabby in his arms, brow furrowing as he thought. Becker thought back on everything, how this cat had fearlessly stepped into danger, led them to a hidden victim, and even cleared glass from an ambulance's path. Then it hit him. "Hazzy," Becker said with a small grin. "Let's call him Hazzy, short for Hazmat." The name landed instantly. It was a perfect nod to the cat's bravery around hazardous materials, and a fitting tribute to the day no one would forget. There were nods and smiles all around. Sarah leaned in, giving Hazzy a gentle scratch behind the ears. "Welcome to the family, little one," she said softly. In a day marked by chaos and heartache, they'd found something rare. Not just comfort, but real help from the most unlikely source, a small orange cat. Hazzy hadn't just calmed a panicked woman or cleared a dangerous path. He'd changed the energy of the whole team. As Becker carried Hazzy toward the fire truck, he glanced down at the cat, now curled quietly in his arms, purring away like it was the most normal thing in the world. He couldn't help but smile. Heroes don't always wear uniforms. And Hazzy? He had no idea what he'd done, no clue how many lives he'd touched. But the soft, steady rhythm of his purr said one thing loud and clear: he was right where he belonged. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the cleared highway. The worst of the day was behind them. And somewhere in the middle of all that wreckage and smoke, a new chapter had quietly begun, one that none of them saw coming. This incredible moment, watching a cat rush toward disaster instead of running from it, was unlike anything they'd ever seen. What do you think made Hazzy step in so bravely? And if you were part of a first responder crew, how would you feel about having a cat like Hazzy by your side? Let us know in the comments below.